Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Monomyth Diaries, a podcast where ordinary people get to share their hero's journey. I'm Mandy.
And I'm Karen, and we'll be your hosts.
We'll discover powerful insights, critical moments of growth, and much more.
Thanks for joining us. We all have a monomyth to share, and someone out there needs to hear it.
Welcome back to the Monomyth Diaries, where it's a take what you like and leave the rest podcast. Today's bonus episode, we're discussing acts of service. To me, when I think of acts of service, I think back to the beginning of my journey in Al-Anon, when I learned the phrase, to give for fun and for free. Mm-hmm. And it was the idea that my job was to give to other people with no strings attached.
Wasn't this podcast born out of your desire to perform an act of service and to give back to the world and to the community?
Absolutely, absolutely. I looked at this as an opportunity to give back to the world for fun and for free. And I realized that as part of my healing journey, acts of service not only supports other people, but it has really helped me change and grow and transform my life.
So where did you learn the phrase to give for fun and for free?
So I learned that phrase in Al-Anon way back in the beginning. I came from a family that didn't volunteer. They didn't do any sort of acts of service. It was a very foreign concept to me when I got into the doors of Al-Anon. And service was a big part of healing. Other members of Al-Anon encouraged me to start small in my acts of service. Right. And it could be something as simple as helping make coffee, setting up the chairs, putting the chairs away. It didn't have to be some big grand gesture. Mm-hmm. Simple, small steps created massive ripples in me. That feeling of I helped gave me a lot of self-esteem. That was another thing that we talked about in Al-Anon, was doing esteemable acts helps you get self-esteem, right?
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, so it's a two-way street. So it's not only helping other people, it's helping me.
Yeah, it's giving what you can.
It's helping me grow. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, for me, I think I grew up in a similar background. Like my family of origin, it was about what can I get from this? The concern was about ourselves. And when I came to a place in my faith journey, and I was studying the Bible and I was getting involved in church, and I remember being challenged with this quote from Jesus in the book of Acts: "It is more blessed to give than to receive." And I was like, that doesn't math.
It doesn't match up with what you're saying at home, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. That doesn't make sense. Like, I'm giving more, I'm going to have less. And it was one of those teachings where until you're actually doing it, and it was one of those like, just Karen, just obey, just trust the teaching, just do it. And then when I started to put it into practice, I started to understand it. It started to make sense, and also being challenged in my thinking about, I'm not giving out of reluctance or obligation, but I'm giving it out of joy with the trust and the faith that things are going to come back, and that it's not my motivation of what I give back. The intention is to give, and the intention is to be generous. And it, again, same thing, it starts with small acts of service, of like, whether it's being kind for someone, whether it's holding the door, whether it's, I think about the book, The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman, and how acts of service is a love language. Mm-hmm. It's a way of communicating love. It is a way of expressing love. It is a way of showing love to someone. And I keep thinking about how the world needs more love. We hear that all the time. And acts of service is that way of sharing love to even a complete stranger, mm-hmm. and being okay with not getting back, because that's not the point. The point is, I'm giving love, I'm putting love into the universe, and you can feel the universe coming back with that love. And I think a lot of it was training me to get out of myself, mm-hmm. out of, just being in my mind and seeing how I fit in a larger ecosystem. It was like opening my eyes to seeing like, there's way bigger stuff than the individual standing in front of me. We're all interconnected together. And they're on their journey, I'm on mine. And as I grow, the more love I give away and give out, the more love just comes back.
Yeah, you're modeling that acts of service for other people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you said when you were challenged, and it made me think about when I first started in Al-Anon, I too was challenged. My sponsor challenged me to do one kind thing, one act of service every day, but I wasn't allowed to tell anybody about it, right? Because I was such an approval seeker.
Yeah.
I wanted people to acknowledge that I did good things.
Mhm.
And so I was having to retrain myself that you give for fun and for free. And so that's what I did in the very beginning. And it could have just been holding the door open for someone, you know, those very small acts of service. Today, you know, I've really built volunteerism and service work into my everyday life. And as I know you have as well, like we talked about with this podcast, you know, one of the important aspects of a hero's journey is the boons. And part of the boons, when you go through this transformation as a hero, your job is to give back to the world all of the things that you've learned. And I know we're doing that through the podcast, but what else do you do for acts of service today?
That's a really good question. I definitely, I think like, you know, like there's an individual I know who doesn't have a great reputation. You know, it's someone that's, I was standing close by and overheard someone scold them and say, like, you're very unpleasant to be around. And I was like, ouch, you know, and it's easy to want to dump on that person. But you know, and I saw that person another day and I said, like, hey, how are you doing today? How was your weekend? And they were very, you know, like one word sentence or whatever, and didn't really respond back. And I had to be like, you know what? I'm just going to show kindness. I don't know this person's story. I don't know what's their monomyth. I don't know where they're at, but I'm going to just show love to this person, even though I'm not getting anything back from this person. You know, the fact that another person like confronted this person and told them how unpleasant they were, I was like, and I felt for that person. And I'm trying to be more like just gracious in mercy, because those are things that are not easy to get, and accept it and go, okay, that's where they're at. My acts of service is to accept them for where they're at, and not hold them to an expectation that I have for them, because that's not fair for them. And again, like I don't know what that person's going through. And then I think about Nikki's phrase, sandpaper people. Ooh. And I think this person's a sandpaper person in my life, but to be like, you know what, they're there. Their presence is, and to shift my mindset and not get angry or to lash out or get vengeance or whatever you want, however you want to describe it, is to see how my presence in all of this, in this bigger picture, is to love. That's all we can do. That's all we can offer. And then I also felt a lot of validation from other people that when I do show those acts of kindness, you see it transform in other people. And I say this as someone who was that unpleasant person once upon a time.
I just can't even imagine you being an unpleasant person, because when I asked you about your acts of service, I knew you were going to talk about kindness and love, because you are so kind and loving. Yeah, I can't imagine you like that.
It came from many others who have poured love and kindness into me. Like I said, I came from a background of there's a scarcity mindset. There's a lot of fear. You know, I came from a background of people showing hostility towards me. So you kind of feel like this is the world we're in. And then flip it around to following the examples of those who modeled before me, of being generous, of giving without expecting anything back, taught me to like just be generous. And my hope is, you know, the more generous people are with one another, the greater this world will be.
Yeah.
You know, I always try to imagine, can you imagine a world where everyone's kind to one another?
I know. I think about my sponsor and the amount of time she gave to me.
Yeah.
To help me be different, to help me transform my life. I mean, yeah, you're talking about seeing other people perform these acts of service. It is very inspiring. We've had so many guests on our show, amazing people giving back to the community, giving back to the world. You know, we've seen Donnell starting a church, you know, that serves broken people. You know, we've seen several of our guests start a faith-based workout group together. You know, they're just doing wonderful things and for fun and for free.
Yeah. And I would argue, you know, the greatest gift anyone can give is time and attention, because it is not something you can earn back.
Yeah.
You know, like money, like you can work more, you can clock in more hours and make that money back and be so quote unquote repaid, but time and attention is not. And it's taught me to just be grateful. Like when I see, volunteerism, that is such a beautiful act of love to whatever the cause may be, but it's something that, it's about creating positive change in our world and our society, no matter what it is, whether it's through your work in Al-Anon or your sponsees. Am I saying the right way? You being a sponsor to your sponsees, the sponsor in your life giving that time and attention to you. I think about how like I volunteered my youth group, and I also try to take that into every interaction I have. I'm here, I'm crossing paths with this person. How can I give them? What can I give to them that hopefully will be a positive impact and that I may never be around to see later on? And that's okay. This isn't about me. This is always about the other person. And to have that mindset was very revolutionary to me.
Me too. I'm so grateful that it has been part of my life. To our listeners, we'd love to hear from you. What does service work mean to you, and how has it shaped your journey? We'd love for you to write in and tell us about it. Thank you for joining us on the Monomyth Diaries. If this episode resonates with you or someone you know, we'd love for you to share it and spread the inspiration.
Don't forget to follow us wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube to stay connected.
We'd appreciate if you could take a moment and rate and review the podcast. It helps us reach more people with stories of transformation and growth.
You can visit us at monomythdiaries.com or text us directly from the show notes to reach out and keep the conversations going.
Until next time, heroes, let's journey together through our monomyths.